The Office looked like a simple workplace comedy, a fake documentary about awkward employees, a clueless boss, and the everyday chaos inside a small paper company. But behind the camera, the real lives of the cast were often far more dramatic than the show itself. Some actors struggled for years before finally finding success. Some became unexpected Hollywood stars. And a few saw their entire lives change after the series ended. Today, we're revisiting the legendary cast of The Office and discovering what really happened to them after the cameras stopped rolling. Because the stories behind these familiar faces might surprise you. Before we begin, tell us in the comments. Who was your favorite character on The Office? Was it the painfully awkward but lovable Michael Scott, the iconic love story between Jim and Pam, or the unforgettable Dwight Schrute? When The Office first premiered in 2005, very few people expected it to become one of the most beloved sitcoms in television history. The show was adapted from the British series created by Ricky Gervais, and the American version almost didn't survive its early days. The first season received mixed reviews, and many critics were unsure if the show would last. But slowly, something special began to happen. Audiences started to fall in love with the show's unique style of humor. Instead of traditional sitcom jokes, The Office focused on awkward moments, uncomfortable silences, and characters that felt surprisingly real. The mockumentary format made viewers feel like they were quietly observing life inside the office itself. They watched Michael Scott embarrass himself during meetings. They laughed as Dwight Schrute took his job far too seriously. And they followed Jim Halpert's endless pranks that kept The Office from becoming completely boring. At the heart of the series was also a quiet love story between Jim and Pam that slowly unfolded over the years. Across 9 seasons, The Office transformed from a risky television experiment into a global phenomenon. It became one of the most streamed sitcoms of all time and continues to attract new generations of fans. But while viewers were laughing at the chaos inside Dunder Mifflin, the actors behind these characters were experiencing their own journeys. And some of those real-life stories are just as fascinating as the show itself. Leslie David Baker's journey to The Office was very different from most Hollywood success stories. Long before he ever stepped onto a television set, Baker actually worked in office administration, spending years in the kind of workplace environment that the show would later parody so perfectly. Acting was not an overnight breakthrough for him. Instead, it was something he pursued later in life, slowly building his career through small roles in television and commercials while still working regular jobs. When he was cast as Stanley Hudson, that real-life experience helped make the character feel incredibly authentic. Stanley quickly became one of the most relatable employees at Dunder Mifflin. His dry sarcasm, constant frustration with office nonsense, and famous love of crossword puzzles made him a fan favorite. Whether he was rolling his eyes during one of Michael Scott's awkward meetings or delivering one of his brutally honest lines, Stanley represented the quiet employee who just wanted to get through the workday. After The Office ended, Baker continued appearing in television shows, films, and voice roles. His career remained steady and relatively calm compared to some of his co-stars, but his connection with fans never faded. Even years later, Stanley Hudson remains one of the most recognizable characters from the series, proving that sometimes the quietest person in the office can leave the biggest impression. Oscar Nunez brought a strong background in comedy long before he joined the cast of The Office. Early in his career, he worked in improv comedy and appeared in a variety of television projects, slowly building experience in the entertainment industry. His sharp comedic timing and ability to react naturally to absurd situations made him a perfect fit for the mockumentary style of the show. As Oscar Martinez, he played the calm and intelligent accountant who often found himself surrounded by chaos. While other employees were constantly creating awkward situations, Oscar usually served as the voice of reason inside the office. The show also made an important cultural impact through Oscar's character. He became one of the first openly gay characters portrayed in a mainstream American sitcom, in a way that felt realistic and respectful rather than exaggerated. His storyline helped normalize representation on television and became one of the memorable elements of the series. After The Office concluded, Nunez continued to work steadily in television and comedy projects. He appeared in numerous shows and films, maintaining a consistent career in the entertainment industry. Much like the character he played, Oscar Nunez built a career defined by intelligence, humor, and quiet consistency. Angela Kinsey spent many years trying to break into Hollywood before The Office finally changed her life. Like countless aspiring actors in Los Angeles, she faced constant rejection and long periods of uncertainty. She auditioned for numerous roles that never materialized, and at times it seemed like her acting career might never truly begin. When she finally auditioned for The Office, Kinsey originally hoped to land the role of Pam, but the producers quickly realized she had the perfect personality for another character entirely. That character would become Angela Martin, the strict, rule-obsessed accountant who constantly judged her coworkers. Angela's cold expressions, quiet sarcasm, and intense love for cats made her one of the show's most unexpectedly hilarious characters. Her complicated relationship with Dwight Schrute and her constant disapproval of the office chaos created some of the series' most memorable moments. After the show ended, Kinsey continued acting in television and film, but she also discovered a new way to reconnect with fans. Together with Jenna Fischer, she launched the podcast Office Ladies, where the two revisit episodes of the show and share behind-the-scenes stories. The podcast became incredibly popular and allowed fans to relive their favorite moments from the series while learning secrets from the set. Jenna Fischer's path to playing Pam Beesly was filled with years of struggle and uncertainty. Before landing the role that made her famous, Fischer spent nearly a decade auditioning for small parts while barely earning enough money to support herself. She appeared in minor television roles and low-budget projects, always hoping that one opportunity might finally change everything. That opportunity arrived when she was cast as Pam Beesly. Pam quickly became one of the emotional hearts of The Office. Her shy personality, quiet kindness, and realistic struggles made her incredibly relatable to viewers. Fans watched her grow from a hesitant receptionist into a confident woman pursuing her own dreams. Playing such a beloved character also came with pressure. Audiences became deeply invested in Pam's life and especially in her relationship with Jim, one of the most famous love stories in modern television. In later years, Fischer also faced personal health challenges, including a breast cancer diagnosis that she later revealed after successfully recovering. Her openness about that experience inspired many fans. Today, Fischer continues acting, writing, and co-hosting the Office Ladies podcast with Angela Kinsey, keeping the spirit of The Office alive for millions of viewers who still return to Scranton again and again. Before Ed Helms ever appeared at Dunder Mifflin, he had already begun building a name for himself in comedy. After studying theater, Helms entered the world of sketch comedy and eventually landed a major opportunity as a correspondent on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. His awkward charm and sharp comedic timing quickly made him a standout among the show's contributors. When Helms first joined The Office as Andy Bernard, the character was not meant to be one of the main stars. Andy arrived as a salesman from the Stamford branch, known for his over-the-top enthusiasm, his love of singing a cappella, and his constant need for approval. At first, he was simply another eccentric personality in the already chaotic office. But over time, Andy's character began to evolve. His emotional outbursts, awkward confidence, and desperate attempts to be liked made him increasingly memorable. Gradually, Andy Bernard became one of the central characters in the series and played a much larger role in the later seasons. While The Office was still on television, Helms experienced a sudden surge of fame thanks to a film that would change his career forever. In 2009, he starred in The Hangover, a comedy that became a massive global success. The film launched Helms into Hollywood stardom and led to two highly successful sequels, turning him into one of the most recognizable comedy actors of the time. Rainn Wilson's path to becoming Dwight Schrute was anything but typical. Long before The Office, Wilson spent years performing in theater and taking small roles in television and film. His career moved slowly, and like many character actors, he often appeared in projects where audiences barely noticed his presence. Everything changed when he auditioned for a new sitcom about office workers. Wilson originally hoped to play Michael Scott, but the producers quickly realized he was perfect for another character. That character would become Dwight Schrute. Dwight was unlike anyone viewers had ever seen before. Intensely loyal to his job, obsessed with authority, and completely convinced of his own superiority, Dwight was both strange and strangely lovable. His rivalry with Jim Halpert and his bizarre dedication to office rules created some of the most iconic moments in the entire series. Wilson's performance turned Dwight into one of the most unforgettable sitcom characters in television history. Fans quoted his lines, copied his behavior, and embraced his eccentric personality. However, playing such an iconic role also created a challenge. Dwight Schrute became so famous that it was sometimes difficult for audiences to see Wilson as any other character. Escaping the shadow of such a legendary role is something many actors struggle with, and Wilson faced that challenge as well. Still, he continued building a diverse career after the show, appearing in films, television projects, voice acting roles, and even writing books. Yet no matter how many new projects he takes on, Rainn Wilson will always be remembered as the actor who brought the unforgettable Dwight Schrute to life. BJ Novak had one of the most unusual roles on The Office because he was not only part of the cast, but also one of the show's writers. When the series began, Novak was actually one of the youngest members of the writing team. Despite his age, his sharp comedic instincts quickly made him an important creative voice behind the scenes. On screen, he played Ryan Howard, the quiet temp who slowly transformed into one of the most unpredictable characters in The Office. Ryan's journey throughout the series was anything but ordinary. He started as the calm observer of the chaos around him, but as time passed, his ambition grew. Eventually, he climbed the corporate ladder and became a young executive, only to see his success collapse in spectacular fashion. But some of the most interesting stories involving Novak happened behind the scenes. His long and complicated friendship with fellow writer and actress Mindy Kaling became well known among fans of the show. Their relationship moved between friendship and romance over the years, and their real-life dynamic often inspired the chaotic on-screen relationship between Ryan and Kelly. After The Office ended, Novak began focusing more on creative work behind the camera. He transitioned into writing, producing, and directing projects across television and film. He even published a best-selling collection of short stories, proving that his talents extended far beyond acting. While Ryan Howard may have been one of the most chaotic characters in The Office, Novak himself quietly evolved into a respected storyteller in Hollywood. Mindy Kaling's journey on The Office was remarkable because she helped shape the show both on screen and behind the scenes. When the series first began, she was already working as one of its writers, making her one of the few cast members who also played a major role in creating the show's stories. As Kelly Kapoor, Kaling created a character who was energetic, dramatic, and completely obsessed with celebrity gossip and romance. Kelly's exaggerated personality added a unique layer of humor to The Office and made her scenes some of the most entertaining moments in the series. But Kaling's influence went far beyond her acting role. She wrote several memorable episodes of The Office and quickly established herself as one of the most talented young writers on the show. At a time when Hollywood still struggled with diversity and representation, Kaling managed to carve out her own place in the industry through creativity and determination. After The Office ended, her career expanded in remarkable ways. She went on to create and star in the Mindy Project, proving she could lead her own successful television series. Later, she produced and developed multiple shows for major networks and streaming platforms. Over the years, Mindy Kaling has become one of the most powerful and influential creators in modern television. What began as a writing job on a quirky workplace comedy eventually grew into a career shaping stories for millions of viewers around the world. John Krasinski almost missed the role that would define his career. Before The Office, he was just another struggling actor trying to find his place in Hollywood. He spent years attending auditions, taking small roles, and wondering if his big break would ever arrive. When he first heard about an American version of The Office, he wasn't even sure the show would succeed. The original British series was already famous, and many people believed the remake might fail. During the audition process, Krasinski's natural charm and relaxed humor immediately stood out. When he was cast as Jim Halpert, no one could have predicted how beloved the character would become. Jim's quiet sarcasm, his endless pranks on Dwight, and his heartfelt love story with Pam made him one of the most relatable characters on television. Almost overnight, Krasinski became a household name. Fans connected with Jim because he felt real, like the coworker who notices everything but chooses humor instead of conflict. After The Office ended, Krasinski surprised many people by completely reinventing his career. He stepped behind the camera as a director and created the critically acclaimed film A Quiet Place. The movie became a massive success and proved that he was not just a sitcom actor, but also a talented filmmaker. At the same time, he transformed into an action star through his role as Jack Ryan, showing a completely different side of his abilities. Steve Carell's path to fame was long and filled with years of uncertainty. Before becoming Michael Scott, Carell spent decades working in comedy, often appearing in small roles that received little attention. He performed in improv theaters, worked with comedy groups, and slowly built his reputation as a talented performer, but true fame seemed distant. Everything changed when he was cast as the regional manager of Dunder Mifflin. Michael Scott was awkward, inappropriate, and often completely unaware of how uncomfortable he made others feel. Yet beneath the ridiculous behavior was a character who simply wanted to be loved. Carell's performance turned Michael Scott into one of the most unforgettable characters in television history. He managed to balance absurd comedy with genuine emotion, making audiences laugh while also feeling sympathy for the character. When Carell left the office after 7 seasons, many fans believed the show might not survive without him. His character had become the emotional center of the series, and his departure changed the direction of the show forever. But Carell's career was only beginning to evolve. After leaving the series, he surprised audiences by taking on dramatic roles in films such as Foxcatcher, The Big Short, and Beautiful Boy. These performances revealed a completely new side of his talent and earned him critical respect in Hollywood. From years of struggle to becoming one of the most respected actors of his generation, Steve Carell's journey proves that sometimes the most unexpected comedy star can also become a powerful dramatic performer. Quick question for you. Which moment from The Office still makes you laugh the most? Was it Dwight's chaotic fire drill, Jim's endless pranks on Dwight, or Michael Scott hosting another painfully awkward meeting? Tell us your favorite moment in the comments. When The Office ended in 2013, it didn't just close the doors of the Scranton branch of Dunder Mifflin. It marked the end of a show that transformed ordinary office life into something unforgettable. What made the series so special wasn't just the jokes or the awkward situations. It was the characters who felt strangely real, the uncomfortable friendships, the strange personalities trying to survive another workday, and the small moments of kindness that appeared when no one expected them. Michael Scott searching for approval, Dwight's bizarre loyalty to the company, Jim and Pam's quiet love story growing slowly over the years. These characters felt less like sitcom creations and more like people we might actually know. Even years after the final episode, millions of fans continue returning to Scranton again and again. New generations discover the show through streaming, while longtime viewers rewatch it for the comfort and nostalgia it brings. Because somehow, a simple story about employees working at a small paper company became one of the most comforting and beloved sitcoms ever created. If you loved The Office, tell us your favorite character in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more nostalgic stories about classic TV stars and where they are today.